Good evening, everybody. It's about 8:15 here on the East Coast. I'm here in Orlando, Florida, and just wanted to talk to you guys about something that I got inspired by from a conversation last night. I met up with an old friend from blast from the past. Her name's Rachel Helms, very intelligent woman. She's working in a very tough field, very interesting industry of insurance. And I was asking her a lot of questions, and she's just that type of person that is just smart. She asks lots of questions. She does her own research, and I always like that about her. I always thought she was very intelligent. I was always impressed by this young lady. So, but she inspired me last night because we were talking about a lot of different things, and just talking about the way people are, the way people act. We were talking about sales training. We were talking about how to teach people, mentorships, and everything else. And I think one of the biggest things that her and I spoke about was that phrase, "I know." And everybody has talked to people, especially if you've been in management, executive management, ran sales teams, mentorships, everything. You've talked to people and you try to advise them, and you try to mentor them, and you try to really help them out with, just growing as a person, and maybe offer them life lessons or professional, lessons to help them become more successful. And you've probably gotten that answer back, "Oh, I know that." Well, truthfully, and I'm going to be brutally honest, you don't know shit. Because if you did know, you wouldn't make the mistakes that you did when it comes to, specific things that I might be talking to you about, or that your mentor might be talking about, or your manager, or whoever it might be. It could be the CEO of the company, or you could be at a conference. And I know a lot of you probably sat in a conference listening to these people, and you're just like, I know. Well, if you know, why aren't you doing it? If you know, how come you're making the same mistakes over and over again? If you know, then how come you're not on the stage teaching it? That is the worst phrase, other than "I don't know," saying "I know," because what you're telling me is that you know everything, and that you don't make mistakes, and that you're perfect. And the reality of it is, nobody's perfect. CEOs of companies aren't perfect. Our mentors aren't perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody knows everything. Nobody knows, every little bit and piece about their industry or every industry. What makes a great person, a great successful person, a good employee, a good entrepreneur, and just a good person in themselves, are people that are able to admit they don't know, and that they want to know. Because the reality of it is, if I'm talking to somebody, let's say I'm talking to my mentor, or I'm talking to somebody that's an expert in their industry, and I'm asking them questions and I want their advice, the last thing I'm going to say to them is "I know." What I'm going to say is, "You know what? I don't know, and I want to know more." And that's what you should say. That's a proper response in regards to advice given to you. Stop using "I know." Stop thinking you know everything. Stop acting like an idiot. Stop making yourself look like a fool, because truthfully, you're the person that's going to fail. You're the person that's going to benefit. You're the person that's going to look like an idiot, or you're the person that's going to look really smart. But just by saying "I know" to somebody that's trying to tell you something that you don't know, and you ask the question, then it's an immature attitude. It's that know-it-all attitude, and it's the worst attitude ever. It's probably one of my biggest pet peeves, other than lack of communication. But in this world today, in this digital world, you don't have to go ask somebody. You can go and research it. You can go look it up on this great thing called Google. I heard it's a great platform that you can really find answers for everything. But there's this other thing called YouTube, pretty fascinating platform. You can look up a lot of things on there too, and find answers for what you want to learn about. So it doesn't necessarily have to be from a person. But when you're communicating with people, and this is the art of communication, it's called respect. If you ask advice, don't say "I know." Because if you did know, you wouldn't be asking for advice. So, and this goes a lot, you'll probably hear this from consumers as well. You'll hear this from customers. You might be in timeshare, or you might be in some type of sales position and you're talking to your client or a potential new customer, whether it's business to business or business to consumer, and you're educating them on everything and they go, I know. And you're thinking to yourself, well, if you knew, then you would have already purchased this from me, or you would be asking more questions relative to my product or service and not saying you already know all about it. So it's a very common thing, and probably a lot of you don't even catch it. They catch that you say it, but you really have to pay attention to what you're saying, when it comes to asking for advice. And it's just something that I wanted to talk about real quick, because I was just inspired by it, because there's a lot of different things in business, especially being an entrepreneur, and myself, a newer entrepreneur. I'm going to ask a lot of questions, but the last thing I'm going to say is I know, because I don't know. I ask lots of questions, and you should ask lots of questions. That's how you learn. You do your research and everything else. And, I'm just really bringing this up because, like I said, I was inspired by my friend Rachel last night, and we had a great conversation last night about a lot of different things that I'm probably going to talk about in future videos here for you. Some tips and trades. I'm actually doing a social media workshop this Monday at Industrious in Orlando, Florida. It's called Social Media or Bust. And it's really I'm putting together some great things for people and for entrepreneurs, for startup companies, for whoever wants to learn, because I'm telling you right now, social media is pretty much the end all be all. I mean, if you're not using it wisely, you're not using it correctly, then you're losing out on a lot of revenue, a lot of potentially millions of dollars for your company. And I'm coming across a lot of companies that don't use it, but kind of getting off on a tangent here. But I hope you're sitting here listening, and I hope you're listening to me closely, that the phrase "I know" does not apply to you, because you don't know. So catch yourself sometimes when you're talking to people, and make it a point to pay attention to yourself and listen to the person that you're asking for advice. And I guarantee you, the next conversation you have with a sales manager or with your mentor, I guarantee you somebody out there that watches this video is going to catch themselves saying, I know. And then you're going to think to yourself, oh yeah, Brian told me that. And really, you don't know shit. So until you know more, and then you're the person giving the advice on a lot of stuff, stop saying I know, because you have to grow and learn. You have to be a sponge. In order to become a successful entrepreneur or a successful person in your industry, you have to be a sponge. You have to constantly learn. You have to read books, watch videos, listen to books, listen to audiobooks, everything. Continually grow as a person and become the best person that you can be, and you'll see what happens. Yeah, there's a lot of positive factors and positive things that will happen to you in life if you become that better person. Don't say I know. Don't be a know-it-all. Don't have a bad attitude, and just stay positive, be kind, be respectful, and be a sponge for information. So hopefully everybody's having a great week. I've been so busy, and I haven't had the ability to produce a lot of content. This week has been really my week to talk more about custom content, and I'm going to talk about that more tomorrow. I'm going to do a podcast episode on custom content. So be sure to follow me on the Truth About Life and Business. That's my podcast. You can find it on Anchor or iTunes. And you can find Big Bite Media on my website. And you can also find more about our creative media partnership on creativeconcepts.com. And that's creative with a Q. Creative concepts.com. My boy Quay over there, he does some phenomenal work over there as well. And Rachel, I know you're going to probably watch this. Keep up the good work that you're doing. Continue to learn, and I know you're going to be the best in your business, whether it's insurance or anything else. And hopefully everybody, like I said, is having a great week. Tomorrow's Friday, which really doesn't mean anything for me because I still got a lot of work to do, but I'm going to try to have some fun in the meantime. Keep the hustle and grind on, and have a good night.